Hi there. Welcome to Anatomy and Physiology Lab at River Valley Community College. I am Dr. Julie Robinson, one of the instructors for labs and lectures here at the college, and I am going to take you for a tour through your syllabus, some of the highlights. You can read all of it on your own, and then I'll give you a little tour of Canvas so you'll know what to expect. Now, it doesn't matter if you're in A&P 1 or A&P 2 because your course will look really similar. Your syllabus will look very similar. Canvas will look very similar. Lab practicals will work exactly the same way. The biggest difference will be the content that you're actually doing in your courses. So I'm going to shut me off so that you can pay attention to the syllabus and to Canvas. So I'm looking at an A&P 2 syllabus here. So you'll see on the first page, you have your instructor's information, email. For most of us, that's the best way to contact us. And please use your student email through River Valley. If you send us emails from a personal account, unless you're having an issue with your student email, sometimes they often get lost in our spam files. And most of us aim to get back to you within 24 to 48 hours during the week. It'll take us a little longer over the weekend. You can also find our office location if it's someone like me, and you'll see when your class meets, the time, and the location. This part's really important, especially for A&P. This is a content-heavy course. There's no way around that. It's going to take you time. It is always better to put in more time, plan more time for studying than you think you're going to need. And then you see how you do after the first few assessments, after the first few labs. And then if you need to, or you can, you cut back a little on your time, but you can't go back in time and add study time. So our advice is put in more time than you think you need in the beginning, and then you can kind of like ease back once you see how well your study methods and your timing is working. Here you can see the college grading scale so that you know what letter grade that your numerical grade accounts for. So this has changed slightly starting in the fall 2026 semester. The way that your grade is calculated, whether it's in A&P 1 or A&P 2, is exactly the same. 70% of your overall course grade comes from the lecture, 30% comes from the lab. So if we look at just lab, this equates to half of your lab grade is from the lab practicals. The other half is from you coming to class, doing your assignments, doing the pre-lab assignments on time, completing the labs, being prepared, right? So you come to the lab, have fun, explore the material, and that's half your grade right there. So we generally do not offer makeups for lab unless it's an extenuating circumstance or an emergency. You are welcome to ask, just please make sure that you know what the policy is. So for the lab, you need a lab manual, but you have some options as to how you use the lab manual or how you obtain the lab manual. So this is the new version, second edition for A&P 1 and A&P 2, so make sure that you have the current edition. You can buy a physical copy if you like through the college bookstore or through this site, and hopefully you know already, because these are open educational materials, OERs, that I, Julie Robinson, do not make a profit off of the sale of them. You are paying for the printing process, shipping, and the paper itself, but the work in the lab manual is freely available to anyone in the world, including you. So you don't have to buy a physical copy. You can do a couple different things. One of those is that the links to the lab manuals are in Canvas. They're also available in the college bookstore, so you could print out each lab if you want to. I would suggest that you do that in color, but that can be fairly pricey. So you could just bring a device with you to your lab session. A laptop will work better or a tablet will work better than a phone because there's a lot of pages in some of the labs. And then you can print what I call these fill-in pages. So the fill-in pages are pages that are ones from each lab on which you would have to write things. So that document is somewhere between 70 and 80 pages. So just printing that would be cost saving. Or if you have like a tablet or a computer you can write on, I've seen lots of students do that. You can open these fill-in pages on that device and then just write on it while you're in lab, right? So the choice is really up to you. Just make sure that when you come to lab, you have a device on which you can read the labs and either the fill-in pages that you can fill in on a device or you've printed them out so you can use them during lab. So as I said before, half of your lab grade really is just come to lab, do the lab, try to have a really positive attitude and be prepared. Make sure you read the lab ahead of time or you do any pre-lab homework that you might have. We generally do not offer makeups for lab. Logistically, that's incredibly difficult for us to do with multiple campuses and labs that run at multiple times of the day. For each lab that you attend, you will also do a lab assignment. So that might be filling out some labeling in your lab manual. It might be doing some drawing. It might be working with your instructor and answering some questions about, say, the muscles or bones or the dissection specimens that you're looking at. Please pay close attention to the late work policy for your class, and this is true for all classes. I personally do not accept late work unless you have a really, really good reason because I'm giving you 2, 3, 4, 8, 12 weeks of notice of when things are due. And I'm going to show you the course calendar as well so you can see when things are due in the syllabus. And there's a few places you can see that in Canvas as well. I advise you to read this section on the online lab practical format, and regardless of what class you're in, you will have an opportunity to download the Respondus Lockdown browser and make sure that it works technically on your computer when you take a syllabus quiz or a practice quiz, and that's to make sure that the system works for you. So your course is going to have, toward the end, it'll have a schedule of what you're doing in class. So this shows you what you will be doing, like what content you're going to be doing. It'll show you the assignments that are due and give you some notes about that. So you can also see this information in Canvas, but if you print anything from the syllabus, this is the part you really want to print so that you have the schedule in front of you. And you can see this is an A&P2 course, but if it was an A&P1, then you would see exercise 1, language of anatomy, exercise 2, the microscope, and then you'll see these pre-lab assignments if that's something that your instructor does. You'll see a due date for those because it's a little different, not a Sunday due date, which is pretty traditional in courses. And then you'll also see here that the first lab practical for this course and what it covers, exercises 1, 2, 3, and 4, is open in Canvas from 9 a.m. Wednesday to 9 a.m. Friday. Now that window of open and close, open Wednesday, due Friday, will likely be different in the class that you are in, but those deadlines are firm. So please remember, a lab practical will not be accepted late, just like an assignment, say one of these pre-lab assignments, would not be accepted late unless you have a really, really compelling reason. So compelling reasons are not things like, well, I had a really busy week, or I had a really busy week in other classes. I forgot that I had a project due in a different class. I'm going on vacation. You just have to work around those things, but you have lots of notice. You can see here that this person would have 5 weeks of notice to make sure that they can take this exam on time. Please do not disappear from class. If you are having trouble, If you are struggling, if you are feeling overwhelmed, please talk to us, because I think we can help you, or at least give us, your faculty, a chance to talk with you, to help you. Maybe we can help you get back on track. Maybe you're making things seem really bad, but you're doing okay, or you're even doing well. You're just not recognizing that. So you don't want to leave class, disappear, and then end up with an AF grade. If you stop coming to lab, or you stop coming to lecture, or both, you can be removed from both parts of the course. Two last things I want to point out to you, and then we'll go look at Canvas. One is that we have tutoring, free tutoring for you, and that is, there's a link in Canvas that allows you to email the people that set up the tutoring and request tutors. I will tell you, for A&P, the tutors go quickly. So if you have any inkling that you might want a tutor, sign up for one early, and then if you find you don't need it for them, then you can say, no, thank you, I'm all good. And then lastly, down here, if you need any classroom accommodations, please click on this link in your syllabus and then go to that page and fill out the information so that we can get you those accommodations as quickly as possible. If you have had accommodations in a different educational setting and you didn't feel like it was maybe as private as you would like it to be, you do not have to worry about that at River Valley. It is a purely confidential process, and we want to make sure that if you need some accommodations, that you get those so that you can be the most successful learner that you can possibly be. So we're now going to take a little tour of Canvas so that you know how this works on your end. I'm going to be working in an A&P 1 course, but A&P 2 will look exactly the same. The structure is the same. It's only the content that happens to be different. So when you come into the course, you're going to be on this home page, which, like your syllabus, also tells you who your instructor is and how to get in touch with them. If there are announcements for the course, you will see them here or at the top of this page. When we go to the syllabus tab, and as I was getting lost in an Instagram hole today, just before recording this, one of the videos that popped up for me was from another college student who said, make sure you read the syllabus. So, advice from them, advice from me, read the syllabus. I'm pointing out, or I have pointed out, some of the really important things, but just give it a read so that you know at least where to find policies. That will always be here for you. The other nice thing about the syllabus page is, and I'll recap this at the end of the video, is that if you scroll down this page, you can also see due dates. Like, it's a nice way to see all your due dates for a course in one place, as long as those are available to you from your instructor. But I'm also going to caution you, don't click on an assignment from here, and do not click on an assignment from here, because if you do that, you can miss some valuable information. So for every assignment, every assessment, whether it is in lecture or lab, you want to go into the module section. So the first thing you're going to have to do when you come into the module section is, see where it says complete all items there, and complete all items here. And then these first couple of weeks have a prerequisite. So that means that you have to read through this module and this module, read through all the content before you can open this module. So to do that, I start here, which is simply going to tell me to do what I just showed you on the syllabus page. Then I click next, and I get to read about some of my options for the lab manual. So I am going to time warp, and I'll be back in just a minute because I'm going to read through all of these pieces and then come back to you. Okay, so now you can see that I am back here in modules, and all of those grayed out things are no longer grayed out because I completed the prerequisites, and now I could say click here to go do my syllabus quiz. Or I could click here to go do my pre-lab homework for, in this case, exercise 2. I'm going to reiterate for the second or third time that anytime in A&P 1 or 2 lecture or lab, you always want to get to your assignments and assessments through the module section so that you don't miss any important information or some helpful hints. So your grades are in the grades tab. I encourage you to review your grades on a regular basis. We do the very best we can not to make mistakes, but it's helpful to have a second pair of eyes, yours, to make sure that we didn't have like a keystroke error, say put in a 10 instead of a 100. And that way, you keep track of your grade and hopefully you see yourself building success with every single thing that you do. Maybe a couple pitfalls here and there, but hopefully you're going to see a pattern of building success. But again, if you want to get to this Respond to Syllabus quiz, go to the modules and do it through there. The other thing that you'll see in here, if there is a grade alert for you, you're normally going to see this, a number. And then when you click on grades, what you will see is you'll see an updated grade, right? And the dot also tells you that it's new. And then this box here says your instructor has something to tell you. So here, Julie Robinson left a comment for student Julie to say, hey, this looks good, but there's one thing we probably need to work on. Let's talk about it. So please read those. We do take the time to give you constructive feedback that we hope is going to help you. The People tab will tell you who else is in your course. It gives you, I believe you can email your classmates directly through Canvas if you'd like to. Maybe you want to start a study group. Maybe you really enjoyed working with someone and want to say, hey, thanks for helping me out today. You can do that. If perchance you have a Zoom class for lab, which is pretty unusual, the only time that might happen is maybe your professor's doing a review session, or there is a snow day or some other kind of emergency that closes down campus. You may have a Zoom meeting, but not common for labs. You can get 24/7 tutoring. This is tutoring that's online through a company called BrainFuse. It's different than our River Valley tutors that are live humans that can work with you. And I believe this chat is really like, or the tutoring is chat based. It works well for some people, doesn't work for others, but it's a resource. And before I go any further, I should make sure that I tell you what the secret word is that you'll need for your lab quiz. The secret word is spicy peppers 13. So make sure that you write that down, spicy peppers 13. So the very last thing I'll show you in Canvas is this one last thing called Panorama, which is fairly new for us. So you can set some parameters for yourself, but the thing that you will probably find most useful is if I go back to modules. Remember, this is the place where I said you want to go to access all your assignments. You'll see this little icon next to things that are documents or items that have alternative formats. So when you click on that, it's going to generate several types of alternative formats for you. So then, maybe you want to listen to the lab manual as a podcast. You should be able to make that. Or if you want it as a text file or an EPUB, or maybe you want Braille. So there's some different kinds of formats that you can get. And if you're new to it, I would suggest that you do the quick tour, which should take you all of 2 minutes to do so that you know what's available to you. So that is it, my friends. I look forward to seeing you in the lab and having lots of fun.